Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's General Finance Committee meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. this morning, and I'd like to confirm that we do, in fact, have quorum. Included, we have our CAO, clerk, and senior management team and staff here present today. We'd like to continue to advise that the public to input on the agenda. It's invited at the following email address at tmlpubliccomment@muskokalakes.ca. None were received. A reminder that today's meeting is being live streamed and recorded on the Township of Muskoka Lakes website and YouTube channel. By participating in the open public meeting today, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded and posted online.
We just paused 1 minute. I think we might have paused that. Oh, I think we did just.
That's from the big spark.
So what happens? Well, we are going to start that again, courtesy of a power outage. We will now start our meeting. I would like to call this meeting to order at 9:05 a.m., 9:06 a.m. I'd like to confirm that we do have quorum and that we also have our CAO, clerk, and members of our senior management team and staff here and present today. I'd like to advise that public input is always welcome on the agenda and is invited to be sent in at the following email address: tmlpubliccomment@muskokalakes.ca. And at this point, none was received. A reminder that today's meeting is being live streamed and recorded on the Township of Muskoka website and YouTube channel. By participating in the open public meeting today, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded and posted online. I would like to confirm that we did not have a supplementary agenda today. And at this point, we'd like to ask committee if there's any disclosures of pecuniary interest. I am not seeing any. Just a quick final note that all motions have been pre-populated with random movers and seconders to expedite today's meeting. And from a voting perspective, members shall physically raise their hand until the chair has confirmed the vote. If the vote is unclear, a verbal vote shall be recorded by the clerk. This is not considered a recorded vote. So committee, we do have one delegation today who I understand is going to join us via Zoom remotely.
I don't think he's here yet, so I would recommend if we can just move on, and when he does join, we'll come back to it.
Okay, we will be coming back to that delegation when they are with us online. And at this point, then, I'm going to be turning the floor over to today's primary show, which is Mr. Sopko. If you'd like to come and welcome to the podium, and I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Okay, so just for clarity, so we are doing full yard study, or are we jumping ahead?
We are doing the Public Works Yard location study, yes.
Okay, so good morning, committee. Today we bring the final draft of the Public Works Yard location study for committee's review. As outlined in the staff report, the intention of staff is not to seek a decision today, but to rather introduce the report and provide an opportunity for discussion and questions. Should committee agree, the matter would be brought back to committee in July for further discussion and consideration of a preferred alternative. We have the consultant that completed the study with us today, I think, to provide a brief presentation. And following the presentation, we'll have staff and the consultant staff available for questions. So without further ado, okay, very soon, the consultant staff is McLean and Bruce Peever from KPMG, and we'll have them with us shortly. Okay.
Oh, there we are.
Good morning.
Is that Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yep. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, we'll put your presentation on and turn the floor over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone, for allowing us to speak. So my name is Matt McLean. I'm a consultant with KPMG. So we were retained by the township to perform this Public Works Yard location study. So I'll go over it quickly today and then open the floor for any questions. So if we can just skip to the next page. So at a high level, this study was undertaken to help ensure the township can continue delivering public works services efficiently and effectively as service demand evolves. The review looked across public works, parks and recreation, and facility maintenance needs with the goal of identifying the ideal deployment of facilities over the long term. So more specifically, the study was designed to achieve 5 things. The first was to optimize operations by improving how facility space, equipment, and other resources are allocated. Second was to improve service quality by strengthening the reliability of services delivered to residents and other stakeholders. The third was to better align services to community needs, including anticipated growth and changing expectations. The fourth was to optimize overall resource management within budget constraints. And finally, it was to identify facility requirements that would need to be met through future yard solutions. So that included administrative space, storage, staff areas, and support space. So if we can go over to the next slide. So to complete our review, we followed a structured four-phase approach. So this included project initiation, current state analysis, then the identification and development of preferred service delivery options, and finally our report. So we began by collecting and reviewing a broad range of operational data and documentation. So this included organizational information, equipment inventory, maintenance services, financial data, winter maintenance information, as well as facility details. So we then conducted site visits to each of the township's 3 public works facilities. So this included the Glen Orchard Operations Yard, the Randwood Operations Yard, as well as the Patterson Operations Yard. And these walkthroughs really helped us to assess the condition, and suitability of each site, as well as understand the types of spaces available, as well as understand the constraints and further opportunities. So from there, we worked with township staff to validate the service delivery requirements that feed our public works optimization model. So this included confirming activities, working days, and equipment usage. And once the current state was validated, we used the model to really forecast future growth, future requirements, as well as develop future facility options. In short, this was a data-driven review built on both quantitative analysis, direct engagement with township staff, as well as our site visits. So if we can skip over to the next slide. So now this is really a summary of our current state results. So we identified a number of findings through that phase 2 analysis. The first was the township's 3 operations yards are aging. So each yard is more than 30 years old and all showed signs of deferred maintenance. And this really pointed to a growing need for repair and modernization. So our next finding was really about the current yard network having facility space constraints. So across the 3 yards, there are gaps in employee-related space, including locker rooms, meeting and lunch areas, and workstations. And in several respects, the facilities are no longer well aligned to modern operational needs. We also noted that the township is delivering a broad and active service portfolio. So this included activities across 19 program areas and just around 3,900 equipment working days. So based on discussions with the project team, we just noted that this is a significant operational footprint, which reinforces the importance of having a yard network that's fit for purpose. And our next finding was around the township's equipment usage. So we noted that there were no major surpluses or deficiencies in terms of the number of equipment, but there are further opportunities for optimized usage in terms of the utilization rates. In terms of the current facilities positioning, we noted that they're not well positioned for future long-term modernization. So for example, when we were looking at the mechanic yard or the mechanic shops, we noted that the township has already outgrown their current mechanic shops, and that is only going to be a further constraint moving forward with our projected future growth needs. And then finally, we looked at winter operations, and our review really found that the township is exceeding the minimum maintenance standards and the minimum expectations for winter operations. So now we can move over to our forecasting of future state requirements. On the next slide. So after establishing the current state, we use the optimization model to forecast how growth will affect service delivery requirements over time. So the analysis considered a range of growth drivers, including population growth, additions to the road network, emerging trends, minimum maintenance standards, as well as broader environmental conditions. So based on the drivers, our model projected that the township's overall public works service delivery portfolio will increase by approximately 18% by 2051. And this growth really affects three key areas. The first being equipment. So with higher activity volumes, the township will require additional pieces of equipment to really deliver these services. And on a similar vein, as the demand increases, the township will also require additional staffing to deliver these services. And then together, while there's increases to equipment and staffing, additional facility space will be required both to store the equipment as well as to house the staff and provide those administrative spaces. So that was really the ultimate goal of our optimization model, was to determine that future growth. Because the key takeaway really isn't just about addressing today's facility issues, but it's also about making sure the township's yard strategy is positioned to support future operational needs over the long term. So in our next slide, we'll really look to outline the different options. So based on our analysis, we developed three high-level options for consideration. The first being to consolidate operations and modernize facilities by closing the Patterson operations yard as a primary operating yard and moving toward a two-yard model centered around an upgraded Glen Orchards operations yard as well as a upgraded Randwood operations yard. So this option really reduces facility duplication, and we assessed it as having a moderate initial feasibility and being really a good phased alternative. Option two is constructing a new operations center. So this would be a purpose-built facility that consolidates public works operations, fleet maintenance, storage, staff amenities, and administration. It really offers the strongest long-term operating model, but it requires site selection, more detailed costing, as well as a clear funding strategy. For us, we assessed it initially as having the high feasibility, just specifically from a strategic fit perspective. And then option three would be retaining all three existing yards while investing in repairs, expansion, and modernization. So this option really minimizes operational disruption in the near term, but it also preserves the existing three-yard structure and the associated long-term facility obligations. So we assess this option as having low initial feasibility as a long-term solution, because even though it does address those immediate needs, it does not resolve the broader structural limitations of the current network. So in addition to this quick analysis, we also conducted a high-level plan and cost estimates for each options. So if we skip over to the next phase, or next slide, sorry. So these numbers are intended to really help frame any decision making, and they should not be treated as a final capital budget. But these are really our high-level planning cost estimates for each option. So for option one, the estimated capital cost is approximately 8 million to 10.6 million. So that includes the modernization of both the Glen Orchards and the Randwood yards, as well as expansions for administrative space and staff support spaces. Option two, our estimated capital cost is approximately 10.5 to just over 19 million. So this includes the development of the new facility itself, which is estimated at 9.5 to 16.5 million, as well as an allowance for land acquisition. And then option three, the estimated capital cost is approximately 9 million to 11.2 million, and that includes the required modernizations across all three facilities, as well as expansions to support the increased need for storage, as well as wash bays and mechanics bays. So from our perspective, option one really offers a phased path towards consolidation, whereas option two offers the strongest long-term facility solution, and option three, while it provides the least disruption, preserves those long-term cost and complexity of maintaining those three aging yards. And now we can move on to our last slide, which is really about our recommendation. So based on the analysis, our recommendation is that the township advance option two of constructing a new joint operations center as the preferred long-term direction for public works operations. So the reason for this recommendation is that it really provides the strongest strategic fit with the township's long-term service delivery needs. It would replace the current dispersed yard model with a purpose-built facility designed to support current operations, future growth, facility maintenance, equipment storage, staff amenities, as well as administration in one integrated location. That said, we do also recognize that implementation feasibility matters. So if it's determined that land availability, funding, timing, or the implementation risk for the new operations center is too large, then in the near term, option one should be retained as a preferred phased alternative. Option one would still move the township towards a more efficient facility model by reducing the number of primary operating yards from 3 to 2 and also allowing modernization to occur incrementally. So with that, those are really our key findings from our study, as well as the recommendations from the study, and we're happy to open the floor to any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Sopko, did you have anything you wanted to add, or should we just open up the floor for questions at this point?
Just opening the questions would be
Okay.
fair.
So committee, we do actually have a resolution, but I would like to open up the floor to questions first before I read the resolution. Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you, and through you to Tim. I guess I have two questions, if I may. First one would be, does the district have a yard or maintain a yard in our township?
Thank
Through
you.
you, yes, they do. They have the Glen Orchard Yard. It's between Port Carling and kind of the T of 169.
Right,
Yeah,
I
we're
guess
the
to that,
Carfax station.
thank you. To that end, has there been any discussion, or is that something we're going to discuss today in terms of working together? I mean, is there a critical mass that might be realized with that?
Okay. Mr.
Through
Pupli.
you, we haven't had any detailed discussions as of yet. As noted in the report, if that is an option that committee would like, we could go and seek out some options for, because with the preferred option, having the one site model, the land acquisition is a big part of it. So that would be part of that discussion.
Okay, thank you. Committee, are there any other questions? Councillor Bosemarth.
Yes, and thank you through you. Do we know what our operation looked like in the year 2000, 26 years ago? And I was just curious about, that's a 25-year window. We're forecasting ahead another 25 years. Just curious, and we're forecasting 18% growth. Do we have that many more trucks and that many more people? But I suspect we had the same 3 sites.
Okay, Mr. Sopko.
It's through you. I was not here 25 years ago, but I can confirm we did have 3 sites. I'm not aware, I mean, I've been here 10 years. I'm not aware we haven't added any new trucks at that time. We have, as committee will recall, we have 1 yard that was our Rosso yard that we did dispose of. That was due to a shifting of it was really tied to district maintenance of a road that we no longer maintain. We could definitely come back and confirm that question, but my sense would be that it's been fairly static.
Okay.
But that can be confirmed.
Okay. Councillor Bosemarth, any other? No? Okay. Councillor Roberts and then Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you. I have a question through to staff on something referred to as deferred maintenance. And I'm just wanting to get some insight to what that means to our budget. How much are we putting in on budgets? Because you were saying we're not doing this because we might be doing that. But how much are we annually putting in just to maintain health and safety and yard use?
Okay. Mr. Sopko.
Through you. So I may also drag in Director Cloutier on this, but our facility maintenance, we do have plans for some of this work that we need to do now in our capital budget, because we have this deferred maintenance has gone on. It's gone on too long. In our current budget this year, we have works at Patterson Yard that has to be done, because we aren't going to be making a decision on this within, tomorrow. It's not going to happen tomorrow. So it has gone to the point that the maintenance cannot be deferred any longer. So we are trying to balance what we're doing to kind of the minimum as we move towards a decision here, but we do have some work planned. I'm not sure if Director Cloutier, if I have anything to add in terms of the long-term 10-year plan and what we have in for the yards.
Director Cloutier.
And for you, so as you may recall, we did building condition assessments last year for all of our buildings, including our public work yards, all 3 yards. So that allowed us to generate a 10-year capital plan for the needed maintenance. And some of it is deferred because I think, in previous management, we didn't do a lot of maintenance on the yards because of the need for this study in a future date. So, and as Mr. Sopko mentioned, we are doing some work at the Patterson Yard because we have a leaking roof there and the walls are leaking. So, we are implementing some of that work. And, in this report, it recommends additional work, which would be, if we were to maintain either a 2-yard model or a 3-yard model, it would include building some additions onto the buildings or some new buildings that would accommodate new staff areas or new maintenance areas, right? So that would be sort of the next step in our implementation plan. So right now we're implementing sort of the deferred maintenance, and then that's already in the 10-year capital plan. And then, we would add other work to the 10-year capital plan, depending on which decision is made.
Thank you. Councillor Zavitz and the Mayor Kelly.
Good, thank you, through you. So Tim, I guess if one contemplates, a brand new facility, I would imagine that the existing facilities we own and use as our yards would then become quite saleable and quite interesting to as commercial real estate. And I guess I may wonder, what is do we know the condition environmentally of those yards?
Mr. Sopko.
For you, the short answer is no. We do not.
Thank you. Mayor Kelly.
Thank you, and through you, and great report. Sort of piggybacking on what Councillor Zavitz asked. Included in the costing for any of the proposals that involve closing yards, have we tried to pre-estimate any recovery on the sale of the yard or value of returning it to taxable property?
Mr. Sopko.
For you, the report as it is does not. The reason being, we don't understand the environmental condition, not understanding the market condition of buildings. There has to be further work done to refine those costs.
Okay. That's good. Any other questions? Councillor Edwards.
Thank you. Through the chair, I have quite a few questions. First of all, if we went to even the 1 yard or the 2 yards, we're still, I believe in the report said we were keeping the Patterson Yard for storage, so we'd have to use supplies and that, right?
Correct.
For you, that's correct. If we did go to a 1 yard model or a 2 yard model, we would still have to have a spot to stage from for winter operations, specifically storage of stand and loading the trucks.
Okay.
Thank you.
And have we considered extra travel time, lost labor, wear and tear on vehicles that have to travel the extra? From Ranwood to Patterson's 20 kilometers. Actually, it's 20.4. And that Caledon tried that with closing yard in Callan Village and moving everything to Bolton. The guys were leaving extra early to get back so they could get home, type of thing. So you're losing about an hour and a half a day. And had that been taken into consideration? I'm asking, I guess, our consultant.
So I think Mr. McLean, I'm not sure if you heard that question.
Absolutely. So we
Okay.
we have considered that as an implication of centralizing the yards. We do also understand that there are a number of benefits of centralizing through the integration of all the services. As well, when we're looking at a joint operations facility, we would also be looking for a number of these pieces of equipment to be stored indoors and some in heated storage. So that would also reduce the wear and tear versus some of the current storage situations where equipment is stored outdoors or non-heated locations.
Okay, and one of the other ones, I thought somewhere in the report that some of the staff were not happy with consolidating, is that right? With your talking with staff?
Okay, Mr. Sopko, do you want to address the staff
Yes,
piece?
I could address that one. So as part of the process with this, we did at our general staff meeting, we've had some discussions with our staff, kind of sharing the results of the study. That was the feedback that you know, the staff didn't like the idea of the 1 yard or 2 yard. They think it works the way it does.
No, and that.
But specifically, it's the operators and talking to.
Like I'm looking at the high end between the one, it's about $600,000 more to keep the 3 yards if you went with 10.6 compared to 11.2. Whereas the 1 yard, you could be up to 19.2. If we take the 3 yard, we could do them one at a time and do the building. We have other things coming up in the report for bridges, roads and everything else like that, like our budget. And that, what would be the benefit to go to almost $20 million on a new yard? And then we'd have to, I believe there's some storage tanks, oil storage tanks or gas tanks, so we'd have to remediate, would we not?
Yeah. So I can speak to the, so there definitely is a range of costs in the report. The 1 yard model does show the life cycle costs, and from the capital costs right to the life cycle costs, it shows a large range. I think that reflects the uncertainty with land acquisition, with some of the pieces of the costs are what you'll save in terms of the ongoing maintenance of the site, but also the costs you'll save by not doing something, or in operationally what you would save. But the councillor is correct that there is a significant range in that option costs.
Okay, any other questions, committee? I do have two. I'm just curious on the the first alternative, which would be to keep the 2 locations open and then the Patterson one open for winter service. It says under the key risk that it requires confirmation that Glen Orchard and Ramwood can accommodate. And then there's a series of things. How does one go about understanding if those sites can actually accommodate those series of things that are required?
So I think what we'd have to do is we'd have to scope what are, you know, this is a very high level study, what the actual requirements would be. What we're trying to say in that model is that obviously if we're taking 3 sites right now, we're reducing to 2. Our current sites we're kind of at the property lines of them. We could potentially, as we build the new facilities, shift where things are. If we're demoing something, we could do that, but we'd have to do a bit more work on that. But definitely the sites that we have are they have show some capacity, but the report shows that they're kind of limited for what they have as well and what they need. So that's a bit of the work that we'd have to do. We'd have to understand there may be a requirement to say at Ramwood where we may have to actually get a bit more land with that, talk to an adjacent landowner and that sort of thing. And I don't think that's been I mean, I can maybe refer this question also to Matt, but I don't think we've fully scoped that, given that this is a very high level study at this point.
Okay, Mr. McLean, did you have any further things to add on what would be required to assess those 2 properties?
Just building on Tim's point, so we looked at the area of the sites of Glen Orchard and Patterson to note that the area is there, but it would be engineering and design reviews about future buildings and whether they would be able to be placed on those pieces of the sites.
Okay. And my second question, I think it's picking up on a previous regarding the HR or staff component. It's kind of woven in through the report. Was there an optimization considered from an HR standpoint, or is that something that needs further exploration?
I could take that one. So we didn't get into optimizing staff, because really our staffing numbers are, the report shows that we're by reducing the yards, we're not reducing the amount of work we have to do. We're really changing where people are working out of. I think that probably has a lot to do with the feeling of staff of not being their preferred option. And that is kind of the short answer to the question.
Sorry, just for clarification, I wasn't looking to change the number. It was more just, I think, picking up on the question about by moving the yards potentially, there's different kind of travel considerations, whether it's to and from work and or actually conducting the work itself. So that was more the kind of where the direction of the question was going. I think I might have seen two hands coming up, Councillor Bosemarth and then Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you. And this sort of as the conversation goes on, questions come to mind. These estimates, I believe, are just for capital costs. If I've got that correct. From a taxpayer's viewpoint, though, we should be making a decision that over the next 25 years is going to yield the best value for money, I guess. And so if we were to consolidate into one location, one would expect to see fairly significant operational savings to justify that capital expenditure. Will that be part of the consideration, and how do we pull that thinking into this decision?
Mr. Zapko?
Yes, through you. So we do have kind of in the report we've presented the capital costs. The report has it's obviously a very long report, but we want to give committee a chance to fully digest it. There is a piece of having life cycle costs kind of without the benefits, which is really like we're looking at the cost of the facility, maintaining it, having insurance on it, all those overhead costs. But then there's also costs associated with benefits. With benefits is really like we drop from one site to 3 sites. We're really saving with work we don't have to do, as well as the costs that are more the operational savings, the operational efficiencies that we may see.
Thank you. Councillor Zavitz?
Thank you. Through you to Matt. So Matt, on occasion, as you drives through Ontario, you drive through different townships along the way, going to wherever you're headed. And I witnessed very many where there's a municipal office attached to a works yard, attached to where they keep their sand and salt. And I guess I'm wondering of you as our expert, as our consultant, what modeling could we look at, 800 square kilometers in the township of Muskoka Lakes versus other types of municipalities in terms of a solution? I mean, I know you brought forward, I guess, your recommendations, if you will, but I'm wondering how you feel about that in terms of what you see day to day as you go across the province.
Okay. Mr. McLean?
Thank you. So as we go across the province, so public works yards specifically have been becoming a major focus just due to the nature of the aging facilities and some of the deferred maintenance. So we have been seeing a growing trend of these joint operation centers, specifically across Ontario, where they're bringing together maybe not all of municipal administration, but more so the public works leadership, as well as more of those public works administration jobs onto a joint operations facility. And touching to an earlier point, we've also seen joint yards between upper tiers and lower tier municipalities as well. So there is a growing trend of the consolidation of these yards.
Okay.
And it's across all types of municipalities.
Thank you. Committee, okay, Councillor Burry?
It's more a comment. There's a lot of.
Let me read the resolution and then I'll go straight to you to make a comment.
Sure.
Okay. Moved by Councillor McIntyre, seconded by Councillor Zavitz. Be it resolved that the final draft of the Public Works Yard Location Study attached as Appendix 1 to Report OPS-2026-013 be received, and that staff be directed to return the matter to committee next month for further discussion surrounding a preferred alternative. Councillor Burry.
Thank you, and through you. It seems to me that there's a number of moving parts here. Councillor Zavitz talked a little bit about the district. Some people that have paid attention to me over the last 3.5 years will know that there are synergies to be made in merging roads and some of the public works pieces. So I think there's that in play. we know that we're going to build at least one new fire hall. Again, we've talked about how do we put these pieces together once we have a landmass. I'm wondering where in our organization we look at the real strategic long-term total cost of ownership of providing the services to our constituents, like over a 20 or 25-year period. Because I think that's kind of the taxation crisis that we're in, or certainly moving to. Inflation's going up. We've got all kinds of issues, I think. Maybe I'm just a little bit ahead. I don't know. But I look at this as we have a real opportunity to do the right things for the long term if we look at the very big picture and stop looking at the silos. So yes, this is one piece and it's public works, but we have to look at the township of Muskoka Lakes in its entirety and how we work with the district municipality of Muskoka, where we're not getting our fair share. And potentially this is an area where we could get a fair share with sharing a site that would allow us to have a public works yard, some offices for senior staff, a fire station that has the ability to deal with that equipment. And I'm just, you know, it's not just here, but it's especially at the district where everything's a silo, and we look at the silo and yep, that's the budget for that. And then you start putting it all together and you say, we've just spent the last nickel 15 times. So I guess it's probably a question for the CAO, and I'm sorry, I did not take the pin out of the hand grenade before I toss this to you. Because I think it's a longer term, more strategic view of the way we run our operation.
Okay. CAO Pink.
Thank you for that. And through you, I think it's noted in the report, the feasibility of option 2, which is the joint operations center, really hinges on land availability and the costs and acquisition. And staff have noted, I think, through the discussions and in the report, that should there be some interest in exploring that, we will in the intervening month reach out to the district and see if there's an opportunity to partner with their property, which is relatively ideally situated between Mal and Port Carling. So there's some potential there. I think the other thing I'd like to point out, which I believe you're sort of getting at, is there's a lot of capital infrastructure needs, costs, and projects at significant scales, from arenas to fire halls to these public works yards. And I think the short way to put it is I don't think we can do it all, and we can't do it all at once. I think we need to, and as noted in the report, upon endorsement of a preferred alternative, staff intends to return, likely early in the new term of council, with a bit of a prioritization analysis as to what we can afford, an implementation strategy as to when those projects can proceed in what order, based on risks, based on critical state of that infrastructure and needs, as well as a funding strategy as to how to actually fund these infrastructure needs over the long term. So I hope that provides some clarity.
Hey, Councillor Burry, would you like to?
I was just going to thank our CAO for a very thoughtful and clearly not off the cuff comment. Clearly he's thinking about this, and I think that gives me great solace.
And I think noted that we've been making quite a few decisions as this body over the last, 8 years, but certainly the last 4 years, towards being able to get to that point. So the next term of council will be able to have a much more consolidated view. So thank you. That was very well said. Any other comments, Councillor Bosenworth?
Yeah, thank you. When we do come back, the millions that we're suggesting we spend in capital equipment needs to have a return. And I think I would like to see that more upfront and just more upfront in the discussion, because ultimately that's what the taxpayers are going to see. They're going to see big capital expenditures, but hopefully they're going to see fairly significant savings that give a plus return on that capital expenditure, so that, as CAO Pink has said, strategically over the long term, we're doing what's actually best for our taxpayers.
Yep. Thank you. Councillor Nishikawa.
Sorry, I appreciate everything that's been said. but I didn't see this report as an opportunity to look to save money. I didn't see this as an opportunity to do less plowing, less, and in fact, I have a concern, although I'm happy to hear that Pattison would stay available. Because I think there's going to be growth off of 141, quite frankly, and we don't talk enough about it. And again, I'm not even clear. I've read lots of different reports about our growth. And so where this particular consultant landed, I don't have all of the metrics of where that number came from, but I've seen different numbers through the district as well. So I'm just happy that we're doing that, but I don't look at this report at all that we are trying to find taxpayers' money savings. I think it's needs that we have to have in public works, but I don't want to ever think that we're doing this to save taxpayers' money. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for clarification, the service levels would not change despite whatever model we would go with in the future. Is that correct, Mr. Salko?
As noted in the report, if we do go down to one site, our return time up the Pecla Bear Cave area is going to be a significant time. But through the work of the consultant, they've identified that that capacity exists. But I think defining whether definitely it's going to change the amount of time it takes for that truck to get up there. A truck that can get there in 15-20 minutes is now going to take 45 minutes to first get up there and start the route. Part and parcel of this will be redoing all the plow routes, changing how we do, finding the most efficient way to deploy our equipment in the winter so we can be out. But to the person that is on their road that is further away from when you have one site versus 3 sites, it is going to change the amount of time it takes to drive to those sites.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments, or knowing that this is going to come back next month, correct? For further discussion. Councillor Burry and then Councillor Edwards.
Yeah, so my interest is not necessarily in a full-fledged tax savings, but I'm always interested in operational efficiency. And what I think that the report outlines, I mean, there's a lot more to putting a plow on a truck and driving down the road. There's maintenance and servicing and the ability to get that done. Do we do it ourselves? Like there's keeping a truck on the road for a municipality goes an awful lot further than starting it up in the morning, making sure it's warm and getting out on the road. And it's more complicated, frankly, than our cars. So, having the kinds of facilities around to optimize the performance of the physical assets that we have is important. And I think that's what we're really trying to get at here is how do we provide the best service for the limited resource that we have? So operational efficiency is a big part of what I see in this report, not just driving a truck down the road, which is, I don't know, maybe half of the job.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Yeah, just to follow up on that too. We're in the service industry. We're providing a service. We're not trying to cut costs to make profits for a corporation, what a lot of people do. And that we're trying to provide a service for people, the best service at the lowest cost, but provide a service. And in a further report that we will be getting, they're talking about a level of service going from 85% to 70%. So this is cutting services. And that's what we have to look at. And that's why looking at this, I would still go with the 3 yards that would keep staff happy. Because if I lived in Utterson, I was working out of Patterson Yard and I had to drive over to Port Carding, I might be looking for a job in Huntsville or Bracebridge if something come up. So we could lose staff because they want to be close to work. So this is all the things that we're saying that we should look at the whole picture, not just the yards themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, well, I have read the question. I will now call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. That carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Sopko.
Well done, Tim.
Thank you for adding that, Councillor Burry. I would concur. I think that was a great report, and thanks for giving us all the opportunity to have some good questions today. So, and thank you, Mr. McLean. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you all.
Okay, now I'll just move on. Hey, Mr. Sopko. 7B.
Okay, so the report for you today presents the results of the township's 2025 Ontario Structure Inspection Manual inspections for bridges, culverts, wharves, and retaining walls. Overall, 39 structures were inspected. The results show that most assets remain in fair to very good condition, with no structures rated very poor. The report also identifies that 9 structures will require major rehabilitation or replacement within the next 10 years, representing approximately $9.9 million in capital needs. The inspections also provided updated condition data to assess our current levels of service for bridges and culverts. Based on this review, staff are recommending revisions to 2 existing service level targets to better reflect the needs of the community, industry practice, and long-term financial sustainability. Specifically, the recommendation is to reduce the average bridge condition index target from 85 to 70, as well as reduce the target for roadway bridges in good or better condition from 100% to 85%. These revised targets would still support safe and reliable infrastructure while better aligning future capital planning with achievable service expectations. With that, I'm available to answer any questions the committee may have.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Sopko. Committee, are there any questions? I see none. I will read the report and then we can open it up for questions or comments. Moved by Councillor Bosemore, seconded by Councillor Roberts. Be it resolved that the 2025 Detailed Inspection of Structures OSIM report attached as Appendix 1 to Report OPS-2026-012 be received, and that Council amend the Technical Levels of Service TLOS measure of the Average Bridge Condition Index BCI for roadway bridges and structural culverts less than 3 meters from 85 to 70, and that council further amend the Technical Levels of Service TLOS measure of the percentage of roadway bridges in good or better condition from 100% to 85%. Now I'll open up questions and comments. Councillor Nishikawa, Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you. I appreciate the report. I'm not an engineer, so I have to rely on the professionalism of staff, and I would be approving this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you, and through you to Tim. So I guess one needs to look no further than their most recent, home insurance, cottage insurance bills, where one of the things that seems to be occurring is upping the deductibles. So clearly that's the same sort of, you could apply that logic to this. I'm wondering when I look further into the report and you itemize the costs we might expect on some of the projects that are down that road, have we done the math on what the reduction in percentage means to us or to the township?
Thank you.
For you, so in the report, that I think framing the reduction level service, if the chair would allow me to kind of expand. When we set these initial levels of service, we look at this as it's a continuous improvement thing. We set it at a bar. We've now done a deeper analysis of where we're at. And we have our consultant confirming that really the level of service that the community wants, we think, is they want safe and reliable bridges and structural culverts. The consultant in reviewing that, they've identified that this would be the level of service that you would set to achieve that. We are receiving, in the report, we do see some financial, like in the long-term plan, the capital plan does save by not doing work that was planned that isn't necessarily required to achieve that, which is safe and reliable bridges and culverts.
Okay. Okay, are there any other, Councillor Edwards?
Yeah, just, it's funny, all the complaints that I get, it's on level of service, and I don't think I've had anyone said, oh, lower my level of service. And that, what it normally is, I will be talking to the district of the railroad crossings that their, people are complaining about damage to their cars. 141 going in Utterson, like you've almost got to stop going across those things. People want them fixed. They don't want to say, oh, well, I can accept the level of service. What are we doing? Like, what's the difference between 85 and 70? I know it's 15%, but what does that look like on the roads?
Okay, Mr. Sopko?
So through you, in doing this deeper analysis, I'm really to what people expect. We want bridges not to be closed unexpectedly. We want them not to be load posted. Like we want to be able to get someone that's getting delivery, having a full gravel truck across the road. That's the level of service we're trying to set. Really by lowering from 85 to 70, the bridge is still in a very safe and reliable condition. I would say that kind of highlighted in our OSM inspections and part of that analysis of our level of service, what the consultant is telling us is actually having at 85, you're actually triggering work that maybe doesn't need to be done to achieve that. So I think framing it in the context of definitely like to people reading that, it looks like you're dropping a level of service, but I think the message is more that on the first pass, we had it a bit too high, and we're actually bringing it back to where it should be, which is reasonable and recommended.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. Or right sizing. Director Colucci, no? Any other questions or comments? Councillor Roberts?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. And I really praise that answer you just gave. Because when we were given the level of services report, there's a lot of stuff in there that kind of shocked me and thinking, does this number not need to be at 85 or should it be at 70? And what you've said, you've now going down that path and you're looking at the service levels and you're considering them and saying, 85 is really good, where the service level that we're having now at 70 is still good. And it's very possible and very safe, and not spending the extra money. That's the kind of thing I'm encouraged when staff find those little nuggets of savings. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee, any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That carries. Mr. Sopko, thank you very much for 2 great reports today, and thank you for taking us through those. Committee, we are now going to move on to item 8A. Oh, good morning.
Good
Ms. Neck.
morning.
Over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Mazan and members of committee. Before you is a report regarding a request from Muskoka Pride to raise a flag at the township office in July. As per the policy, organizations must submit a request every 5 years to council for approval. Staff are of the opinion that the request complies with the policy, and with that, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Committee, I do actually have a resolution, but I will ask for questions first. No? Okay. Moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Burry. Be it resolved that the community flag raising request, Muskoka Pride, as outlined in staff report LS-2026-020, be approved. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Neck, for probably our most efficient GNF report and approval I've seen to date, so thank you. To date, I said. Okay. No pressure, Ms. Holmes. Okay, welcome, 8B. Ms. Hollows.
Thank you.
No. Okay.
I'm here. Unfortunately, but I'm going to present a report on her behalf.
This is a report for information only. It details some changes that came through Bill 97, the Plan to Protect Ontario Act Budget Measure 2026. And there's a few things we just wanted to make you aware. One impacts from this piece of legislation is the impact on privacy and the fact that we now need to do privacy impact assessments on all of our software, on all of our, anytime we collect personal information. We've given you some detail around what that will look like. I can tell you that Lauren will be going on the training session in a couple of weeks. And from that, she will come back to us with some ideas on how we'll implement this, whether we need to get new software, whether it's something we can do internally. But we expect that this will have an impact on our workload. We will be required to do things that we aren't currently required to do, and it will take up some time and energy. But Lauren, I know, is smart enough and well versed enough to figure out the most efficient way to accomplish all of this and still meet the requirements of the legislation. There also was a few changes to freedom of information requests around the timelines in order to deliver the documents. It does provide for a way to work with the applicant or the requester in order to, especially around voluminous requests, but chunk them down into smaller segments. We actually do that now informally. This sort of formalizes that process. So we don't anticipate a whole lot of changes there with regard to our freedom of information requests. I think it's a pretty well-oiled machine. And I think we'll just be carrying on as we now. I guess the only other thing, and there was a change to the definition of a record, electronic records they broadened that definition. So just be aware, all of those freedom of information requests. And there's a whistleblowing provision in the act now as well. So I'll be curious to see how that goes in the future. So if I can, I'll answer any questions you might have. I don't believe there's a resolution, so I'll just update you on this piece of legislation and the impacts that we expect with that on.
Well, thank you very much. So there is no resolution committee. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much. Committee, I'll do one more report and then we will take a break. Let's move to 8C. Welcome, welcome.
Good morning, Chair Mazan. The report presents the township's 2025 development charges reserve fund activity. At year end, the reserve balance was approximately 1.6 million, up from 1.3 million in 2024. During the year, 434,000 in development charges were collected, and about 280,000 was applied to eligible growth-related projects. The balance in the various categories are impacted by the projects identified in the background study and their timeline in the 10-year capital plan, and of course, council's approval of those projects. The report also reflects recent legislative changes affecting development charges, timing, and reporting requirements. Staff are recommending approval of the annual statement showing. And if you have any questions.
I think we just learned that your mic might not have been on. So I hate to do this to you, but I think you're going to have to do that
You want me to
again.
repeat everything?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Right, we just realized that now.
Okay, we will try this again with the microphone on. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Mazan and committee. This report presents the township's 2025 development charges reserve fund activity. At year end, the reserve balance was approximately 1.6 million, up from 1.38 million in 2024. During the year, 434,000 in development charges were collected, and about 280 was applied to eligible growth-related projects. The balance of the various categories are impacted by the projects identified in the background study and their timing in the 10-year capital plan and council's approval of those projects. The report also reflects recent provincial legislative changes affecting development charge timing and reporting requirements. Staff are recommending the approval of the annual statement shown in Appendix 1 for submission to the minister. And if you have any questions.
Thank you very much. So I do actually have a resolution, but I will ask for questions first. Councillor Bosenworth.
Yes, I have two questions. They're as much educational as anything. Can you remind me what we get when we charge development charges? I didn't think we had much development work going on. I kind of consider development work as, we're putting in a subdivision or something like that. And I'm surprised at the amount of revenue that we collected, the 434. And then the second question is, we applied some of the elements of cost for Judhaven Road, and I think we're doing some more on Judhaven Road this year. Just wondering, how do you determine how much of that is due to developmental and how much it is just repair?
Thank you.
Okay, through you. Yes, it's a new construction, so any residential construction, if it's a new building, if you're doing a renovation, it's not, you don't do development charges. I think there's a portion, and I'm not quite as versed at the exact timing, but if you do a renovation, there's no development charges, but a new or a substantially new activity has development charges on it. And the amount of the development charges on, say, a Judhaven Road, I would look to information from Mr. Colucci or his staff and go, if we replaced like for like, it would cost this much, and the incremental cost more for increasing the surface treatment is this many dollars. So that incremental portion would be the part we could, because we're identifying that we're increasing the different surface level due to increased usage.
Okay, a third question or supplemental?
No, just a clarification. So if we see lots of cottages where they're tearing an old one down and building a new one, the total new cost will be subject to development cost?
Not necessarily, no. I think there has to be an increase in volume, a certain increase. And as I said, I'm not as well versed on the nuances of the timing.
Thank you. Any other questions, committee? Seeing none, I'll read the question. Moved by Councillor Zavitz, seconded by Councillor Bosenworth. Be it resolved that committee approve the statement attached as Appendix 1 to report FIN-2026-008, and that in accordance with Section 43(3) of the Development Charges Act, the treasurer be directed to submit this statement to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay, that carries. Thank you very much. So committee, I know a few have taken a bit of a break, but we're going to take a break now. And we will resume at 10:25. Okay, thank you. Welcome back, committee. Thank you very much. We are now going to move on to item 9A, and welcome to the podium, Director Colucci.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And the report before you is about one of my favorite topics, trails. So we've been working with the Acton Island Association for a long time. And they would like to put some trails on some existing road allowances in Acton Island. And the report before you is just presenting the lease for those trails. We have about 48 kilometers of trails, and this will be adding 2 kilometers of trails to our network. The cost of constructing the trails will be wholly paid by the association. And the agreement is before you, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Committee, I do have a resolution, but I will open it up for questions first. Councillor Bosemarth.
I was a little curious as to why we require them to have insurance. This is a trail that's being added to our network on our land, where something that, you know, if we had the money, we might have done. And they are, you know, they're pulling together as a community, so the partnership. Couldn't we just have this under our insurance?
Okay, Director Colucci.
So, through you, Madam Chair. So usually when we have people doing work on our trails, so on our land, we ask them to provide insurance. So that goes for other things too, like road occupancy permits. If people are doing work within our road allowances, we ask them to provide insurance. So in this case, they're actually building and maintaining trails. So for the duration of the lease, we're asking them to have insurance just to ensure that liability is covered and it defers us from liability because we're not maintaining those trails, they are.
Councillor Bosemarth, question?
Yes, thank you. I was just wondering, how do they raise funds? Do we know how they raise funds and pay for all this work that they're going to do?
So through you, not overall. I mean, they did apply for funding. So they did get some funding through the township for some of the work. And, you know, I imagine they're just, you know, gathering funds from residents on the island.
Any other questions? Okay, moved by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor McIntyre. Be it resolved that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the lease agreement with Acton Island Cottagers Association attached as Appendix 1 to report OPS-2026-015. Any comments? Councillor Edwards.
Yeah, that brings something up on the insurance. So if they've built the trail and somebody gets hurt on it, their insurance still has to cover them. Ours doesn't, even though it's our land. So if somebody was trespassing on the land and it wasn't a trail there and sued us, how does that work?
So through you. So yes, without them providing insurance, then it, you know, that liability would fall to us. You know, if there is an incident, then, you know, their insurance would be first to do that. I mean, it doesn't mean that we wouldn't be named in a suit if there was one, but them having insurance would help us to defer some of the liability.
Councillor Roberts.
Thank you. So you just tweaked my thoughts here about doing work on our lands. We have significant amount of kilometers throughout the township that residents do work on our property and we don't ask them for insurance, specifically the roads. The not seasonally maintained roads, the not maintained roads that a cottage association such as Leonard Lake Road 1 does. And you're not asking us to have insurance. We do have insurance, but I guess there's a lot not. So why wouldn't you just suggest?
So I just want to remind us that the resolution on the table
Okay,
right now is
sorry.
with the Acton Islands, and if that might be a question you could ask after, if that's okay. Well, simply because what we're here to talk about is signing a lease agreement with Acton Islander Association.
But my questions are directly going to be.
Okay.
I'm sorry for rattling on at the first.
No, that's okay.
Okay, so
Director Colucci, I don't know if you want to add, but I just want to remind that this is what we're talking about.
yeah, that's fine.
Right. So for you, you know, in this case, this is a new new items. So there's new trails being constructed. So, you know, our policy is that we will ask for insurance, and similar with if we have road occupancy permits, we ask for that. You know, the private road issue is a much larger issue. And, you know, we're letting other municipalities take the lead on that, because in Lake of Bays, they are taking the lead on having private road associations provide insurance. And, you know, we're going to see how that goes there until we try to implement something here.
Okay, thank you.
Chair,
Oh, Councillor Roberts.
I may have a resolution that I would like to change to this, just if I get further detail from the director.
Separate from this, though. Separate from this resolution, which is, would you like me to reread it? Be it resolved that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the lease agreement with Acton Island Cottagers Association attached as Appendix 1 to report OPS-2026-015. So this is very specific to the lease agreement.
Yes, yes, and this is.
Okay, so you would like
proposing
to-
something very specific to this agreement.
Okay,
All right, and what I'm proposing is, I fully support them getting the insurance and that for building the trails. But once that's done, why wouldn't our insurance take over at that point when there's no other changes? And
Director Colucci and then Mayor Kelly.
So for you, you know, the recommendation of our lawyer is that we maintain that insurance throughout the term of the lease, because they will be maintaining the trail during that period, right? So they could be adding more to it, cutting trees or doing whatever maintenance is required. You know, in addition to that, they also maintain some trails on private lands, which these trails will be connected to. So, you know, the private landowners that are attaching to this trail also want that insurance coverage.
Okay. Mayor Kelly, Councillor Burry, Councillor Edwards, Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you, and through you. And I was simply going to raise the issue that this is a matter that's been covered off by staff with the parties. We've got an agreement that we're here to consider. I don't understand why we would be trying to find a way to not ask for insurance now that we've already got an agreement. And if Leonard Lake Road 1 Association feels left out, we can probably come back and impose an insurance obligation on them as well.
Okay. Councillor Burry.
Thank you, and through you. I own some backlot that is made available to the public as a trail. And best practices are that the people using the trail have some liability insurance. So in this case, because it's bordering on Sherwood Inn, Club Link actually names us as insured. But we also carry a rider on the liability for having people walking on our back lot. It's really, really inexpensive, and it lets you sleep at night. This is just a no-brainer, and thank you, Director Colucci, for bringing it to us. Strongly support it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Yeah, you know, it's unfortunate. I can go with the insurance, but you know, this is why people don't volunteer anymore. And that we used to have a trail committee here years and years ago. There was all volunteers that used to go out, and then
I'm still here. I'm still here.
yeah, but years ago, and that we had people, and now we pushed them out because of insurance and everything else like that. Like, it's a shame, and that we've had to come to this, and that, but it is what it is.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you. Through you, I mostly wanted to comment that I understand the insurance portion, because what I didn't understand when this was initially presented to us was how we were going to wrap this trail within our system because of the private trails associated with this. And I'm still not even clear today. Is there a parking spot for me to go and plot myself and start on the trail? You know, because again, this feels very different than some of our other public trails.
Okay, Director Colucci.
So through you, and yes, it is different because there is no public parking location for that, but the residents of Acton Island will be able to use that, and it will be available to them. And it's for the Acton Island Association, it's really a safety issue. They want to get people off the roadway there and walking onto trails. So the more trails they build, the more connection they have for more residents on the island.
Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you, and respectfully. I'm supportive of this, given what Director Colucci added to my questions. But I didn't understand the Leonard Lake 1 comment being special. And also, we're here, in my opinion, to read the recommendations and to tweak them with ideas. And maybe my idea was harebrained, but I thought it was worth putting out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I have read the resolution a couple of times, I believe. Any other comments, questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you, that does carry. Thank you, Director Colucci. I know this has been a bit of a journey, but an interesting and innovative way to not only promote healthy, active living, but get people safely doing so right off the roadways. And I know that this group has been working with you for quite a bit of time to try and come to a good and common solution. So thank you. Fantastic. Okay, committee, our delegation from earlier today actually has joined us. We're going to go back to item 4A, and I believe he's joining us online. Mr. Ezer, I think. Is it Ezer?
Yes, hello?
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. Did I pronounce your name correctly, Ezer, or?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so Mr. Ezer, you will have 5 minutes, and after your 5 minutes of delegation, I will open up the floor to committee to ask any questions. We will then be moving on to the other matters on our agenda, and then after that, we will come back and we will discuss the request or your delegation in a more fulsome way. You can stay around at that point to watch, and or our senior staff will follow up with you afterwards and let you know the outcome of our discussion. Okay,
Perfect.
so with that, I will turn the floor over to you for 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. And I apologize, I had some technical difficulties and I didn't get the email, so I appreciate you bumping me up right now. I'll be very brief. It was around 2022, I had for legal purposes at a property land that we acquired, and we moved the title ownership into our name. When we did that, I guess the property tax bill and the address for some reason changed through that process. I mean, I don't think we did it purposely, but it was then set to the actual vacant land where there's no property on it. It's just dirt and soil right now. So we missed, embarrassingly enough, but we missed about 2-3 years of property tax notices and emails, or not emails, property tax mail, which we thought would have been sent back to the city, and then someone would have said, hey, you guys just did this thing and everything's getting bounced back. It wasn't until earlier this year, March, where we got an email from one of the staff members saying, hey, your file's about to go to the next process. I don't remember what it was. She actually reached out to our lawyer. My lawyer contacted me, in which case I saw what the balance was outstanding. I was shocked and mortified. We paid it immediately, the full balance without asking any questions. If you look at the full balance, I sent a note on March 11th in which outlined all the costs and everything. They're about fees and interest, which total $12,947, which I am prepared to take our share of. But my request was that this county or city or municipality, I'm not sure how you refer to yourself, I apologize, would take about 50% of that, would forgive 50% for their part in letting it lapse this long. That was my request. And they said I have to come to the panel to make that request formally, which is what I'm doing. And so I appreciate some consideration because it was very punitive to us, and I'm not taking any fault away from our own. We do take responsibility. We should have known, but at the time we were also hoping that I think when you get bounce back mail, and then when finally it went to the rubber of the road, we got contacted immediately and we dealt with it right away, had we known. So I just appreciate their understanding in this matter.
Okay, thank you very
That's all I
much.
got.
Okay, thank you. Committee, are there any questions? Mayor Kelly?
Thank you, and through you to Mr. Ezer. You mentioned the bounce back mail. I'm not sure I understand why mail was coming back. Did you change your address after acquiring the land, or how did we get the wrong address on your?
We made I believe we made a title change in 2022 where we didn't change the address, or we didn't mean to. And effectively, I think the mailing address got changed to the actual site. I'm assuming that when you send mail to a site that has no structure on it, something gets bounced back to the sender. Like there's nowhere to deliver that mail. Like there's no structure on that property. So that's what I'm referring to when I say bounce back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Committee, are there any other questions? Okay, Councillor Nishikawa.
I have a concern about this, and I'm
So we are going to talk a little bit further after.
sorry, I was trying to get my question out.
No, if you have a question, that's fine. I just want to make sure that we know we're going to have to. It's okay. I'm asked if you have a question, this is the time. No? Okay. Mayor Kelly, did you have another question?
Thank you, and through you, I don't want to be too picky, but you did say, and I wrote it down as you said it, you don't think you did it purposely, and I don't know, are you pretty darn sure you didn't do it purposely? Are you, I just don't know what that means.
Do what purposely?
You were saying that the address was wrong and the payments weren't coming to you and you weren't making the payments, and you said, I don't think we did it purposely. And
no, we did not do. We didn't receive any notices. I didn't receive a notice until someone on your staff reached out to my lawyer to say, hey, we need to find the owner of this because this property tax bill is going to, I'm not sure what the next level is, a receivership. The minute my lawyer reached out to me, I immediately contacted your staff and said, hey, what's going on? And then within a week, you had full payment with interest, with penalties, everything that was owed, because we were totally unaware that this outstanding balance was owing. So we didn't do anything purposely. I'm accepting responsibility that probably we should have known that if we're not getting a bill, it's our incumbents upon us to contact you. I get that, but I'm saying at the time in 2022 when there was some legal change and the mail was being sent to an empty structure that I'm assuming was bounced back, I'm asking the county. I'm sorry if I'm municipality, I'm not sure if what the jurisdiction is, to take a proportionate help in the punitive nature to the tone of 50% of all the interest and arrears costs that we paid, which I outlined in a letter, all the payments made. So it was definitely not purposely, because the minute we got notice and knew, we rectified it immediately, and you can ask your staff that like we were kind of on top of it once we found out.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you. Through you to Mark Donaldson, if I might. So Mark, how many of these bounce backs have we experienced as a corporation? I mean, it's being used as a thought process here, and I don't understand it. Thank you.
Okay, Director Donaldson.
Through you, Chair. I don't know the exact number, but we receive hundreds of hundreds of tax bills returned to us for non-delivery for various reasons.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Councillor Edwards?
To Director Donaldson, if they were being bounced back, how do we get a hold of them at the end? Like, did we get the lawyer? Like, how did that work? In other words, we supposedly didn't get the tax bill, but they got the final notice. How did we contact them then compared to what we were doing, sending the tax bills?
So not that I'm wanting to cut this idea off, but I am getting coaching that right now we're in questions for the delegate and that we will very quickly be able to have this more fulsome.
Well,
So
I
that
can-
just gives a moment, but
If I may, I can answer that question just in our specific circumstances. We did not get notices until one member of the staff saw, or maybe whatever it was, saw that this file was going to an auction hearing, and then reached out to our lawyer, noted that was on record for making the title change or whatever it was in 2022. And then immediately my lawyer contacted me, and then I was directly in response to him. So we didn't get any notice ever. It was just a member of your staff just made one phone call or email to our lawyer, and then everything else was resolved from there. My wish it could have been done, 3 years ago at the time when we made the change. But yeah.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Committee, are there any other questions for Mr. Ezer? I'm seeing none. Okay, thank you very much for your delegation. As mentioned, we have a few more reports to go through today, but then we will be resuming the discussion.
Am I okay to log off, or do I have to stay on too?
You can log off, but thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time.
Have a good day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, we are now moving on to 10A. Mr. Cox.
Hey, morning, Madam Chair and members of committee. So my report this morning relates to the township's existing attainable housing rebate program. As committee will recall, the township recently approved update and expansion to the community improvement plan that added several new housing-focused grant programs, which are available across the township and will be launched formally in the coming weeks. On review, following this update, staff found that there's significant duplication between the existing rebate program and some of these new CIP programs. And therefore, as outlined in the report, we're recommending that the Attainable Housing Rebate Program be discontinued and merged into the new Community Improvement Plan programs, and that the reserve funds that we're holding for the previous rebate program be transferred to the CIP reserve, specifically for the use on these new housing incentive programs. A full analysis of the two programs is contained in my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that committee has. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So committee, again, there's a resolution, but I will open it up for questions first. Any questions for Mr. Cox? Seeing none. Moved by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Mayor Kelly. Be it resolved that policy C-FS-11 Attainable Housing Rebate Program be repealed, and that remaining funds from the Attainable Housing Rebate Reserve be transferred to the Community Improvement Plan Reserve and be made available to fund the housing-focused private sector incentive grant programs. And that an amending bylaw to remove the Attainable Housing Reserve from the discretionary reserve bylaw be prepared and brought forward to the July council meeting for consideration. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. That carries. Thanks, Mr. Cox.
Thank you very much.
So we'll quickly resume the discussion, it looks like. Back to the one item that we just heard a delegation on about the property tax penalty relief. And Councillor Edwards, I'm going to turn it back to you so you have the first opportunity to ask questions or comments of staff.
Yeah, well, my question was, like, if the mail was coming back to us, how do we get a hold of them? And that to say where it was going to be a tax sale. In other words, what triggered that? Like, and that I guess I'm looking at somebody doesn't get a tax bill, and all of a sudden 3 or 4 years later it adds up. But on the other hand, did they not know they had to pay taxes?
Director Donaldson, I think the process, it sounds like, how does that work?
Yeah.
So through you, Chair. So generally speaking, if mail is returned to us, there's really no further steps we can take. We've tried to contact the property owner at the address and the contact information that we have on file. In this particular case, what happened was when it got to tax sale, staff went the extra mile to look at registration documents and identified the lawyer and reached out on 2 occasions to the lawyer to try to contact the owner before it went to tax sale. So we kind of went above and beyond on this one, but it's really incumbent on the property owner to ensure that they are aware that they owe property taxes. And if they're not getting a bill, to call in and provide us with the correct information for their bill or for their mailing and for the amount that's owing to them on that property.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Kelly and then Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, and through you, and it's directed to Director Donaldson. My recollection is when you acquire title to property in the township of Muskoka Lakes, it's incumbent upon the purchaser to set up appropriate relationship or appropriate way to receive a tax bill and to provide whatever the correct address is, whether it's here in the township or at some other location. Am I wrong about that?
Through you, Chair, the information that we take on file is what is provided to us from MPAC, and MPAC receives that information from Land Registry, which is what the lawyer registers on title.
Thank you. Councillor Roberts.
I seek further clarification on how the 2 properties were merged and the address of the structural or dwelling property was changed to the address of the adjacent lot. Can anyone help me with that?
Through you, Chair. So all I can tell you on this particular transaction is when the property was transferred to the Ezers, the address that we have on file that the bills were mailed to, which was the actual address, was what the lawyer put on the land registry when that was filed with the lender on title with the land registry office.
So what happened when the transaction was done for the sale, the lawyer identified, mistakenly put the address of the empty lot on, and then the 2 properties were merged naturally because of 2 adjoining properties? No merging? No. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was just a transfer of I think it was just a transfer of a property to them.
Okay. And just another subsequent, so where was okay. So just for clarification, just thinking through so they really weren't seeing any tax bills, so there wasn't no tax being paid for those period of time.
Through you, Chair, that's correct. The account was in arrears until it got to the point of view or the point where it got to tax sale. And I think Mr. Ezer outlined in his letter the composition of the amounts that he's identified. I think if I can, Chair, I think, you know, in this case, in all cases with respect to this, I think it really comes down to a situation where there is, you know, the bylaw is written that I do not have any authority to forgive or waive any fees. And in entertaining this presentation or this delegation, I just caution committee and council that it creates precedent, and that would be very detrimental to our ability to charge penalties and interest on late fees.
Thank you. That was a great way for us to address next steps here. Oh, Councillor Edwards.
Hearing that, I wouldn't support a refund, but would the gentleman not be able to go after his lawyer for making the mistake, errors and omissions? Okay.
We'll leave that as an open-ended question.
Thank you.
Most of us probably have, comment. Okay, so I am not sensing any interest in waiving these fees. Okay, thank you. That moves us on to item 12B. And this is about district matters, wondering if anybody has questions or comments for our district councilors. and or if district council has anything that they want to provide an update on.
Oh, so much.
Well, why don't I start with it? Are there any questions for the district councilors? I have one, and I think it was a fairly engaged one on planning services, I believe, regarding the floodplain mapping. And I'm just wondering if either Mayor Kelly or Councillor Edwards could just give us a high level overview, because I know that's a very important topic for us in the township of Muskoka Lakes. So, and contentious, yes. Okay, Councillor Edwards, you want to read?
Well, one of the things they did is separate Muskoka, because it's a large body of water, said it was basically come under a 5-foot surge. And that, as has been pointed out, there's a lot of islands on there too, that some people are saying it's maybe not a major lake. So what they're doing is they have a flood level, and they have what I guess they call a surge level, which could be impacted. And they're going 5 meters, if I'm not mistaken. So this is one of the things. So some properties now, the thing is, there's 5 meters if you have a raised shoreline, and that it may never go in. Where other areas are lower, it will go in. So they're looking at it, and anybody that has a lot that hasn't developed could have restrictions put on it. That's what that explains it.
Okay. Mayor Kelly, did you have anything you wanted to add? I feel like you may.
No.
I may have a question. Okay, Councillor Roberts and then Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you. Correct me if I'm wrong. No decisions have been made yet, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Zavitz?
Thank you, it's for you. I think, given the recent flooding, I think that's exacerbated, and the district meeting, and the concerns, and really heightened, the fact that, people's property was affected, could be very seriously affected here with this change. And I think that was sort of an aggregate, what drove this. But I certainly hope that people do keep their attentions laser focused on this. And it brings up to mind, and not to change this topic, but it does bring up to mind where we are with the flooding piece. So I'm not sure whether that's going to be discussed at council or wherever, but it is part and parcel. That's why there was so many people in that room. Because I think it got all sort of combined.
Energy. Councillor Edwards?
Yes, it has been discussed, and I believe we had asked the province to respond by the middle of June, so we should have an answer any day now, huh? Or we may have to wait, since they've adjourned and that. But it is a problem. But one of the things and I did see one where they're talking in the early 1900s and everything else of that. If you look at the amount of construction that has gone on, the building has gone on in all the major areas, and that water now has got to go somewhere. And it's coming down faster if it's coming off a roof, if it's not going into the ground where there's trees and everything else like that. There was a very good article by Kevin Trimble the other day explaining it, and that these dams were not built to hold back water. They were built to contain water, and it makes it very, very difficult for them. And that I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but if you look at the area, like, and that of Algonquin Park, it's 16 kilometers from one gate to the other, and all that water comes down. It's got to go somewhere. So maybe they can do better. I think they've got to put more flood control in if that is the case, but that's the province, and we can just keep pushing to try and get answers. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Kelly?
Thank you, and through you. And I don't want to speak at length about this, but I will tell you that the theory behind the floodplain, the revised floodplain mapping, is that water levels are noticeably higher now than they've ever been, and they're causing increasing levels of damage with increasing frequency. which is a bad situation and clearly one that you don't want to have development in that bowl within the sort of expected to flood range, which is what I would call this. My problem, singularly, is that we are proposing changes to the official plan, changes that will deny people development rights, change their development rights, reduce their development rights, reduce their ability to, some cases, build on grandfathered locations or expand a grandfathered spot that they might otherwise have access or have the ability to change. And if, as we are asserting in our letter to the province, the high water levels are being caused by mismanagement or misguided documentation, if it's really a problem with the water management plan, or if it's a problem with the way the water management plan is being administered by human beings, we have no business focusing on this change in the floodplain mapping. Let's figure that out first. Let's make sure that what can be remedied and corrected and reversed gets remedied, corrected, and reversed before we start doing what I consider to be, I think I said that it wouldn't use this word, draconian overstep in denying people their their property rights, inherent rights in the property to develop and redevelop near the water or close to the water. So again, for me, I don't know right now what's causing the high water. I have my opinions, looking for people much more focused on things like hydrology, precipitation, climate change, and all of the other ingredients that go into what we think are causing higher flooding. But before we get to any of that, let's just make sure we consider carefully and rule out the possibility that it's a really lousy agreement that underlies it right now that doesn't obligate more action faster as the water flows through the gates, or alternatively that the agreement's fine, but the actual active management of the different segment or parts of the agreement are causing the problem. We got to rule that out before we start piddling around and denying people the right to act on their property as they have traditionally been allowed to move.
Thank you. I thought I'd heard you say that. So I'm glad that we all had a chance to hear that. It's the order of things, truly. Councillor Nishikawa?
I just wanted to add what the mayor had commented on today. The water level on Lake Muskoka is very high, and it's stopping construction because construction is our business here. But it's stopping construction. It's stopping work on boathouses and new docks. We have experienced, and I'm speaking specifically about East Bay, and where people are taking their, and I would look to Councillor Bosma about this, but they're taking out their enjoyment vehicles, surfboard, boats, all of those types of things, and are really doing damage at the shores. I know one nesting site for a loon area that has always existed there. What got wiped out 2 weekends ago because of a wakeboarder or that type of activity while water levels are so high. And again, who's managing things? And that's the concern. And it is a Lake Muskoka issue. I don't think that we can try and change what Lake Muskoka is by the model that, or not a model, but basically as the province is speaking. Thank you.
Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you. To that point, we had a deluge of rain on Saturday, and I've never, well, last night, but I've never seen, it was very odd. I've never seen in Bala Bay, looking out to my reference point, the water went up at least 2 inches in Bala Bay. That never happens. That's odd. Which if you go over to the hydro plant, not to get into it, but they're not moving anywhere near as much water. Did they not know that the forecast, like we all have on our phones, all that water was coming? And so, it's the management of Lake Muskoka, which no wonder it's high. It's incredibly high normal right now, for sure.
Mayor Kelly?
Thank you, and through you. And I just want to react to that comment from Councillor Zavas, because I think he's right. But the real issue to me isn't that the forecast changed yesterday. We should move the water today. It's too late. We got to start running it lower as part of our normal operating zone has to drop sufficiently so that when we get caught off guard, we're never going to be able to react in time to drain 2 inches of water off of the entire Lake Muskoka without completely drowning everyone on the Moon River. So my humble submission, not being a hydrologist, make the adjustment as part of our normal course. Run the system with less water in it so that when these storms, sudden spring storms or summer storms spring up, we don't have to react. We're ready for it. We've got room in the basin.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? I just wanted to add, when I was listening to the floodplain discussion, and I like the way that was ordered. And I know that there's different thoughts and approaches as how to manage the watershed and manage the water flow. Unique to Lake Muskoka, I guess, is that we are not only dealing with weather pattern changes, but we have that operating plan that is guiding all of these structures. And I think the leading with that is a very responsible thing to do. It was created 20 years ago, hasn't been updated since in an appropriate manner. If conditions around you are changing, just logically, one would say it's a good idea to conceive or the parameters that an operating plan is working under, does it make sense still? And I think that's been the ask on an ongoing basis. As per the management, I won't comment on that. I also know, looking at the different technical studies that have been completed through the district, that there's been quite a few that address the thing that the topics that I think Councillor Edwards was introducing, and that is policies that help guide wetland preservation, development rights. And I think it's not one or the other necessarily. I think things need to be looked at together. And I think it's an important step that we're taking with this operating plan to help understand the nuances and the unique characteristics that have a huge impact on Lake Muskoka and the Moon River folks. And so I just wanted to make sure that I think the order of things that you've kind of highlighted is an important one to be considering before you go and actually change a floodplain. Like, not to say it's not the right idea, but let's make sure we at least address the first piece first. So I will leave it at that. Any other questions or comments for our district councillors? Mayor Kelly.
Thank you. Just one more thought. I don't recall a specific date. I think it just said mid-June, didn't it? The letter we sent. As someone noted earlier, we're fast approaching. We have something of a reaction plan, but I think the more public that's involved and engaged in that, the better. They prove to be a tireless and unrelenting group, and I'm not sure that our voice alone is going to be nearly as compelling as some others who may want to join in the requirement that we get a reaction, we get a response. If we think that any kind of review is going to take place and be implemented in time to avoid the same kind of anxiety, stress, and frankly flooding that we had last year or this year, if we were thinking we're going to stop that next year, we've got to be working on it yesterday. So anyhow, we'll have more to say on that as the middle of the month passes.
Okay. I have Councillor Roberts, but Councillor Nishikawa, then Councillor Roberts.
Through you, I was going to change the topic.
That's fine.
But I believe.
Okay, Councillor Roberts, thank you. Councillor Nishikawa, Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Councillor Nishikawa. I echo what the worship just stated, that it just won't be this council that influences the Ontario government. We need the numerous people that responded last week to flood, pardon the pun, the Ontario government's email boxes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Nishikawa? Oh, no, CAO Pink, sorry. CAO Pink.
Sorry, just very quickly, I think it goes without saying, but rest assured, clerk's staff did forward the resolution to all the interested parties as soon as the resolution was passed at last council. I've also personally reached out to the regional director of M&R to get an update, seeing as we are approaching mid-June and I've yet to receive one, but again, staff will forward any updates as we receive them. But as of now, I unfortunately can report that we have not heard back from M&R.
Thank you. Councillor Nishikawa.
I wanted to raise that we're going to be dealing with solid waste next week, I guess. And I really think it's an important, because everyone seems to have an opinion about clear garbage bags or what they can do at the dump or like all of these other things. Or the fact that we had asked for bag tags and that hasn't been implemented. I think it would be important for anybody and everybody to watch that district meeting and send any comments or whatever to your district councillor of questions that you have so that we can actually address those things, because it seems to be a topic constantly about this, you know, is the right color and all of those other things, or somebody doesn't get picked up. But I do believe that there's an opportunity for people to have input here.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Kelly.
Thank you. And through you, I have input here. The garbage thing, and just personally, did not expect to spend nearly as much energy, time, or focus on solid waste in this role as mayor than I have had to over the last 4 years. I took an unofficial poll, and I think over the course of 2 weeks, 30% of the inbound communication that I received from constituents was related to problems, anxiety, stress, anger related to solid waste and how it's managed and looked after. I have a really overly simple, I'm not a garbologist, so I really don't know enough about it, but I do know, if you'll allow me, when I was 8 years old, I was given responsibility to take the garbage to the curb at my home. So what I know about garbage is pretty straightforward. We make it, they take it. It's no more complicated than that. It shouldn't be any more complicated than that. In my 60 some odd years of, of dealing with it, in my own homes, in my own cottage, in my own whatever, it's never, ever been very much more complicated than that. We get emails constantly, especially this time of year, from people who find out they no longer have pickup. They no longer have the opportunity to do organics. They have to meet a truck at a certain time at a certain place 3 lakes over from where they currently reside to drop their bag off at an authorized drop site. I actually wrote a letter to somebody on last week who lives in the Windermere area, essentially saying, I don't know what you're supposed to do with your organics. Throw it in your clear garbage bag. Throw it in the bin when you meet them at Parker's Marine Sunday at 1:30. If anybody gives you a hassle, give them my name. I can't control it, but this thing has to become much more manageable, much more convenient, and quite frankly, since I don't focus as much on the cost of things, but rather on the value, it has to become a service of much higher value to our constituents than it presently is. We are paying an astronomical sum. We are getting, in the case of the several hundred of people like me who have a residence in the urban area, it seems to work pretty well. Anywhere outside of there, and it's calamity. And we need, we really need to stand up and advocate for our constituents who aren't on Bailey Street or aren't conveniently located to a pickup spot because they're not getting the service they're paying for. because they're getting angry, because what's supposed to be a relatively stress-free, trip up here for the weekend involves hauling garbage around in their boat, throwing it in the backseat of their car, taking it to the city. Or even worse, and I can't be the only one who believes a lot of it's being diverted illegally. It's being tossed by the side of the road in ditches. It's being tossed under 40 or 53-foot trailers that are parked in the snow at the Kiss and Ride at Brackenridge Road all winter. When the snow melted, there was all sorts of garbage bags under it. Green bags, not clear bags. But we've got to get a handle on this. It can't become the dominant matter for advocacy from this level. We've got far bigger issues. We've got people in with far more need. This should be one of the simple ones, and we've got to do something to make it simple.
Thank you. I agree on all of those comments. A question for, I think Councillor Nishikawa, you brought this up for next week's meeting. Is it about the current day-to-day operations, or is it a solid waste master plan? Okay, so it would require us, we should go and look at what that master plan is and provide input. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Bird.
You'll find this shocking. I'm going to make a comment. I actually think it's criminal that we put stuff in landfills. The technology has changed to the point where we should be looking at producing energy from waste. The scrubbing technology is good. We've got empty gravel pits that can take it. It's something that the district has pushed back on, saying we don't have enough material to make it cost effective, to which point I'm saying, let's turn it into a municipal services corporation and take it from other municipalities. It should be much easier for our people. So you put it in a bag and they take it away, and then we make energy from it. At some point, the people that are south of the border or west of us, because it's not south, in Michigan are going to say, we're not taking your tractor trailers anymore. It's going to happen. The Rosewarren landfill is going to fill up. We're spending millions making, the next cell. And I find it interesting they call it a cell. We have to think as a community much more broadly and begin to embrace some of the technologies that are working in these places like Europe, which I would suggest are far more environmentally forward than we are. So I think that the master plan is terrific, and it suits the people of the towns where the truck drives down the road and picks up the garbage. It does not think about those of us that might have different circumstances, private roads, private islands, getting to a marina, all of those pieces. And so I'm going to continue to advocate on public works and maybe one of, the two lone voices that sit on the committee that say we need to start to look at other pieces and how it fits together. Because as Worship has pointed out, waste management should be easy for the consumer. And right now it's not.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Councillor Edwards?
I'd like to just mention something new. I did get a call, an email from Brandy Lake about the bleak green algae. I passed it on to the CAO, Mr. Pink, and he answered it, and I'd like to thank him for that. And that they may be watching this morning, I don't know, but it has been taken care of. So thank you very much, Mr. Pink. And as far as the garbage goes, the garbage situation, solid waste, I agree it should be incinerated. There's processes out there. They've been doing this since the 1980s. That's how far behind we are. If you have to burn coal or gas or whatever else like that, and use an energy like that rather than burning garbage, then you get a little bit of ash, and you're creating energy. So it's the way to go, and I don't know why they just are holding back on it, but there's got to be a better way. And there's still people on private roads that are not even getting garbage pickup and that, and it's very, very frustrating. So we'll keep at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm getting there. Okay, are there any other comments on the district? Thank you very much for those updates today. We are now moving to community events, and Councillor Burr, you had your hand up.
I do. There is going to be a volunteer appreciation community event in August, and it's Thursday, August the 13th. Widespread, I should know that off the top of my head. Widespread invitations for those that are volunteering within the community. Our volunteers are our community. Almost nothing would operate without volunteers at some point. Yes, we have some terrific staff that make things work, but we also have volunteers in many areas. And so the township is going to host a volunteer appreciation event. And if you haven't heard about it and you're a volunteer, reach out. We'll make sure you're invited. The second one is the Muskoka Lakes Museum. We'll be having an exhibit launch to celebrate 55 years of the MLA Boat Show. And that's on Saturday, July 18th. From 4:30 till 6:30 at the museum. It is a fundraiser for the museum so that we can keep the piece operating. It's not a municipal museum. It's a small, charity. But it's called Mahogany in Motion. And it's, as I say, celebrating 55 years of the MLA Antique Boat Show. And it's going to be worth coming and having a visit. There's, as usual, volunteers there. There's a barbecue and some sliders and terrific volunteers.
Great, thank you. Any other hands up on community events? Councillor Roberts?
Thank you for the opportunity to announce to everyone.
Oh, your mic, sorry.
I want to announce once again that the Milford Bay Community Center are going to once again try to raise funds for Andy's House Hospice Muskoka. The budget that the hospice budget that must be raised for 2026 is $1.5 million, which is not paid by the government in any way. They have to raise that money to stay afloat. In 22 years ago, when the Milford Bay Community Club organized the Beef on the Bun, which we're going to have this year again on July the 24th, we raised $48,000. And so we're attempting to do the same thing. So everyone knows a lot about Andy's House. They really need the help. There'll be more to come out on July the 6th in the evening. The Milford Bay Community Club will be hosting Andy's House to come to the community center to talk to the programs they have. And they're excited to introduce to everyone Andy's House at Home, which is palliative care in the home. Since opening, Andy's House has greeted over 900 guests. They expect this year's services to the families will be 500 families. So spread the word. It's July 6th for the information sharing to learn everything there is about Andy House. And on the Saturday, July the 24th, there's going to be Beef on the Bun the same as last year. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
What time?
Okay, the only other one I wanted to add was one actually being coordinated with staff is the opening of our new park in Windermere. There's going to be a little park opening, and I was just trying to remind myself of the date. I believe it's July 13th, right? Which is the Monday before our next set of meetings at around 4 o'clock. And it's quite delightful. I'm sure both my colleagues would agree to see already the activity in the park. I've been hearing stories from other folks that people are discovering it and having a lot of fun at this new facility of ours. So that combined with the opening of the little village hall, there's certainly a sense that the community is kind of coming alive, and it's really delightful to see. So invite everybody who's maybe not in our ward to either come to the actual park opening And or if you're not doing that, at least come and see some of the very practical, like it's actually tangible outcomes and positive things that we can see in this little community of Windermere. So I don't know if you wanted to add anything, Alan or Gord, to that. Just put your mic on if you wanted to add.
There's a strawberry social coming up with at Christchurch, and I can't remember the date. It's a Saturday from 1 to 4, but I can't remember the date. I can get it. People
Okay.
know tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Any other items? Okay, seeing none, I do have one more resolution, which is going to be moved by Mayor Kelly. Oh, that's okay. Seconded by Councillor Zavitz, because I got your eye contact. Be it resolved that this meeting adjourn at 11:25 p.m. a.m. And the next regular meeting of the General Finance Committee will be held on Wednesday, July the 15th, 2026 at 9 a.m. or at the call of the chair electronically from the Council Chambers Municipal Office in Port Carling, Ontario. All those in favor? Thank you. That carries. Thank you very much, committee, and we will see everyone back at the table for 1 p.m. after lunch.